This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
Hey, Gerald, welcome to Top Shop Podcast. We really appreciate you taking your valuable time. I know running a shop keeps everybody pretty busy, but everybody, this is Gerald Henke. He owns Alternative Automotive in Winfield, Missouri, and has been in business 12 years and has new location over 5 years. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the automotive repair industry. That's usually an interesting story sometimes.
Yeah, oddly enough, I actually went to college for computer programming.
Oh.
I pretty much always drove junk, so I was always working on a car.
Right.
And always like going to help my friends work on their stuff. I mean, we were young, so we all had junk, but just start doing it as a side job as I was doing my other jobs I had, and just turned into be more of a side job, and I just had to keep focusing on more training so I could keep up, and kind of turned into what it is today.
Right. Awesome. So a shop became available for sale? You opened one?
I used the garage out of my house.
kidding.
I used to live in a single wide trailer, and then I built a new house, and I built a garage big enough to put a car lift in it because I wanted to work on my own car in there. I wasn't never really intended to work on other people's stuff there, but
Right.
my personal projects got further and further away from the shop door, and then it started turning into more and more customer work until it just finally turned into my full-time job.
Yeah, I talked to a guy the other day. He started out in his garage. He's got 2 shops doing 2.5 in revenue now. So he really just focused on growing, and he's wanting to hire us so he can continue growing. So can you share your journey to success? How did you how many bays do you have now, or lifts and techs?
Started with the shop at my house, which was the garage, was technically 2 bays, but it was only 30 by 30. So it was only
Wow.
one lift, and the other bay was just full of anything you can imagine, anything you can shove in the shop. And I mean, I'm 6'7", and I had a stick to get stuff off the walls because we were putting it up that high on the walls to make it all fit in there.
Wow.
There was room in the other bay to pretty much like set a pallet with an engine on it or something like that. You couldn't pull an engine without moving toolboxes and everything else out of the way to get it out of there. So then I built this building here, which is 5 bays, started with 4 lifts, 3 2-posts, 1 4-post, and now we have a mid-rise in the 5th bay where some of the other stuff it's just a smaller bay. And then hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to add 2 more bays and 2 more lifts on this building here. So.
Oh, awesome. That'll really be able to increase your capacity a lot. Well,
yeah, I need another guy in here already, and these guys are already kind of tripping over each other. I got 4 technicians and 2 riders in here.
Oh, awesome. So you got 4 techs and you just got a new guy?
No, I need another guy.
Oh, you need
I don't
another
have
guy.
anywhere to put him because you can't. I mean, you can, but it's hard to make a guy work off a mid-rise
Sure.
all the time.
Okay. So what were some turning points or milestones in your career, like major things that had you? Was it just more customers coming in and you just grew with it, or how did you?
Yeah, I guess. Well, the last year I worked out of my garage at my house. We did $434,000 worth of work out of the garage of my house, and it was me, and which now is my service writer manager coming in after 5 o'clock to help me. We were working anywhere from 14, 18-hour days. It was pretty tough. So, and then in the process of building this building, not even realizing how much difference it makes, I was just posting pictures and stuff like that on Facebook. We went from 434 to 640, I think, the next year, with just doing it by word of mouth and some pictures on Facebook. So it grew pretty big. And then from there, we expanded all the way to 1.3 million last year, and our goal this year is 1.7, which is tight with the room we got, but I think we can do it.
All right, yeah. So what were some of the more specific challenges that you had in those early stages besides having to work 16 and 18-hour days?
No, every day is a challenge. You're learning every day. There's always something that shows up that you didn't know or didn't expect, or you expected it to go a certain way and it never does. I mean, like at this shop here, this 5-bay shop, and when I moved over here, it was just me and my stepson working here. I built it in the intentions of having 4 lifts, 2 to pick up the cars and check them out, and then order parts, get approvals, and then the other 2 lifts to work on 2 other cars. It has never worked like that anymore. Now it's get done what you can and back it out to get another one in. It's pretty busy.
Right. Yeah. So what are the core values or guiding principles that have contributed to your success? Because I can just tell right now that since you like a lot of shops, they have no money to invest in digital in the beginning. They've got to do it from the bootstrap it from the ground up. So, it's doing great work and getting referrals, but specifically, what do you think the core values are, or the guiding principles that's so far? Because you've made it to that magic mark of over 1 million. And congratulations, by the way, Gerald. There's a lot of shops, real tough spot for a lot of them to get to.
To say, for us, it's just being honest with the customers, being 100% transparent with them, and then doing good diagnostics. I mean, I know there's a lot of shops out there, but being able to tell the customer what's wrong the first time and being right about 97 to 98% of the time really makes a difference. People get tired of going to the shop and like, I don't even know what their service writers say. Well, we tried this and it didn't work. We tried the next thing that didn't work. No, we diagnose it, tell them exactly what's wrong the first time, guarantee our diagnosis, even if you fix it. But if it's the same problem, you bring it back and we find that your part or whatever didn't fix it, then you got to pay the diagnosis again, that kind of thing. But I mean, that's how confident we are with the diagnosis that we have, that we will let you fix it if that's what you absolutely. We do have some customers that only want us to diagnose stuff and then they go repair it themselves and things like that.
Oh, really? Do you see that as a growing trend, or?
I hope not. It's actually bad for business, but
Yeah, it is bad. Yeah. But there's
but
a lot of people, there's some, I was reading some stuff or watching some stuff on YouTube, and there's like a huge percentage of the population that like they're one auto repair away from being out on the street, so there's, because of the tightness with the genius politicians we've got now and the prices. I paid $7 for a bottle of water at the airport the other day. I'll never do that again. So
Right.
It's getting kind of high. I'm just curious, are you seeing a higher demand of that now, of people requesting that service?
It depends. So we have very few, it's less than 1% of our customers that do that.
Okay.
At the same time, if you're charging appropriately, it all kind of pays the same. The problem is diagnostics requires more advanced tools and a lot more skilled technicians.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Not changing out brake pads or anything like that. So,
Right. I mean, you can have just about anybody do brake pads and wheel bearings. They're normally too tough.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a major setback, or a time that, you were working really hard and you're trying to get out of the house, the garage. Give me like a setback or a failure that you had and how you made it through it.
I'm not really sure. Really, everything was just always pushing ahead to make it work. Like there really wasn't an option in my head for failure per se. I had to move on to the next step or make it work. Learning how to charge correctly was a huge thing for me too, because once I built this shop here, our overhead became real quick. And that's another reason why I ended up joining ShopFix too, to help figure out where I was going wrong or why everything was so tight. And I had no idea for almost 10 years. We were riding a razor's edge of win or fail. I mean, it was that close. I mean, one of my techs might break a simple piece of plastic and I'm losing my mind over it, and it's like $20 if we were running it that tight.
Okay. Did a lot of times mentorship plays a part. Did you have anybody that you could like call, or another shop owner somewhere that you could?
Not until I joined the shop coaching group, I didn't. I would call some of the other shop owners in the area at first, especially in the very beginning, because I just didn't know how to do certain things. So
Sure.
I would call in for some advice here and there, but I really try not to bother them. And then before I built this shop here, one of the biggest shop in our town, which we're a pretty small town, and where I'm at, literally in the middle of nowhere. But he had offered me to go in and partner with him. So I told him, I was like, well, if you're serious about that, I need to see everything you did in the last 3 years. And then once I saw the paperwork, I'm like, I'm doing that by myself. And he had like 3, 4 guys. And I thought, nah, that's not gonna, I'll do it by myself. So that was kind of a big turning point to realize that just working out of my garage, I didn't even think I was anywhere close to what a real shop in town was doing. And I had no idea that I was already doing that.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you get your pricing adjusted? Because that is a topic that I've heard quite a bit, and I'm going to probably do.
Well, for us, like COVID helped because everything was going up so much that it was just almost expected from the public that it was higher. But it really come down to the fact, like it did make us have quite a hit where we got quite a bit of pushback sometimes, like how we were so much more expensive or this or that or whatever it may have been. Some of it was just working with the other shops in the area. You know what I mean? Just letting them know, I'm like, listen, I'm raising my price to this. And we're actually the highest labor rate in our area within like 10 miles. And we are literally 8 to 9 miles out of town. And we still do more than anybody in our town anyway. There's another town on the road that, they got 15 shops and 5 miles, I'm sure there's just tire places big enough out there to do more than what we do monthly gross, but
Right.
what you're selling makes the gross numbers look a little bit different.
Mentioned that you belong to an owners group. So do you have like an owners group that you belong to that you can like chat with?
Yeah, Shop Fix Academy is the coaching group I'm part of.
Oh, okay.
Been an awesome group for me so far. I like the way they do set up the tribes, stuff like that. There's no one there that doesn't have an answer for your question, whether they're smaller shop or bigger shop than you. They might focus on something that you never really paid attention to, and they're an expert at it. And they might be the guy doing half of what you're doing, or they might be the guy that does 5 times what you're doing. So it's just awesome having a group of other shop owners of any sort, really, to be able to be that helpful too.
Yeah, I'm starting up a Facebook group called Shop Owners Alliance, and we're going to start contacting people through their Facebook page. And that's what I want to do. I mean, we have 0 members, but what I want to do is, get it up to 100, 200 where people can just go and ask questions, share ideas, whatever, in an open forum where they can just, ask whatever.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that with your local shops. See, like even the local shops, I get along with all of them, but when you start talking like detailed money stuff, they really don't want to say anything. Like if you ask them, like, break out your P&L, let's see where we're at, see where we can help each other. They're not going to do that.
Right.
Which,
Yeah.
to a point, I get, but it's amazing. You can go to a coaching group, do the exact same thing, and everyone's willing to help.
Yep.
Like the local thing is almost like they feel like you're competing against them, and they don't want to have to size up to one or the other, when realistically you're in the same area with the same customers. It would be more beneficial if they would.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll be asking you to join my Facebook group once we get it set up. And that's what I'm looking for, Gerald, are people like you, people that have been around the block for a while. All the shop owners that have been in business over 10 years, you've made it. I mean, 80% of shop owners fail within the first 5 years, and approximately another 80% of those fail the next 5 years. So for you to be able to make it through that 10-year mark, you've hit a milestone, and then doing over $1 million in gross sales, you now actually have the revenues where you can invest in digital or whatever to start grabbing all those leads from people that are searching for auto repair in your area and don't have you as a referral and getting them to you. So you really made it to a really important milestone. So how do you stay innovative and adapt to changes? Because there's a lot of changes going on in the industry, especially with the battery stuff, which I'm really hoping will die. Because
I don't think it's going to go away.
No.
But the full EV car, great if you work 3-4 miles from home or whatever, So first, like, there's room for them in the market, and I honestly am not afraid of them things anyway. I mean, we deal with like hard electronic issues anyway. We kind of specialize in electronic wiring problems and things like that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if people really think that they're going to put less computers in an electric car, there's just less oil change intervals. And the big misconceptions with electric cars, there's no oil in it. There's still oil in it. There's oil in any of the gear sets, your drive motors, stuff like that. Some of them are wet electric motors, some of them aren't. There's still oil to change in there. It may not be as often as interval, but you just throw away more parts when it comes to electric cars.
Okay, so you pretty much just been adapting to the EV change. You're able to do some repair work on them, correct?
Yeah, well, we can. I think in our area, it's not real big EV. We're really rural, so if
Yeah, you're Missouri, right? Yeah, you don't have
I mean,
Teslas
if you have an
running around
electric
town.
car, you
Winfield,
better have a
Missouri.
plug where you left and a plug where you're going, because you're gonna need it.
Right, yeah, not a lot of Teslas running around Winfield, Missouri, right? Mostly
I would see them, but
trucks.
very minimal, yeah.
Yeah, more pickup trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Pretty much full drive trucks, and you gotta tell the people with tractors no and stuff like that, but.
That's cool. We met at Vision, so, and I appreciate you scheduling and keeping your appointment. I've talked to a lot of shop owners. How long you been in business? Oh, a couple years, 3 years. What advice would you give to the younger shop owner that's just getting started the way you did years ago?
If they have a significant other and kids, it makes it harder, but you have to stay determined and keep your other half on board, because if you don't, it'll end up making a mess out of your life. Everyone in your family really needs to be on board, because it takes that much time and dedication. There's not like a silver bullet to make it work. You know what I mean? Everyone's area is a little bit different, or that, you still got to go see your kids' games and things like that, but you still have a ton of work. And probably the best thing I've ever heard, and it's worked for me, is hire people smarter than you. If you're not good at something, I know it's expensive, but how expensive is it for you to learn how to do every single thing compared to hiring someone that knows how to do it, and then you can move on to the next thing.
Right.
Then I've only started figuring that out in the past 2 years. I mean, the rest of it is just me figuring every single thing out most of the time by myself and then trying to reteach it to other people, when now it's just easier to hire an A technician and I don't have to worry about as many comebacks, mistakes, anything like that. And it just makes the job better. Mistakes cost money, not necessarily money up front, even if it caught it and it didn't really cost anything to fix it. If the customer's unhappy, that bad review might cost you more money from people you've never even met yet.
Yeah, you've got it. That's good advice because, with my kind of business, we have to hire people that there's no way I could possibly know. It's impossible. I have to hire people that are smarter than me in a lot of different areas. I mean, just to create a website, it takes 4 different teams and not one of them know each other's job. The SEO department doesn't have the slightest idea how to do writing, and the front end web designers don't know how to do the keyword research in the SEO or the writing. So that's good advice. Always hire above your pay grade, pay a little bit more. That's good advice for a young shop owner. So
Another thing too is you might end up hiring someone that you think is great for that job. They might be better off at something else. And not necessarily even in a shop. You might hire a person for a writer. They might be a great parts person. Let them do the parts. Figure out a pay scale that works for them. Pay scales that are motivational makes a whole lot less babysitting for me. If everyone's on more of a commission type base, or even like flat rate for the techs, I don't have to tell them, hey, let's get on to the next car or whatever. Their motivation is to get paid more money. So
right.
There's a whole lot less babysitting too. We used to be all hourly. I only have one hourly guy now, and he does strictly diagnosis. He does like the real hard stuff anymore. But with him, he's the guy who first talking about charging right or correctly. He's the guy we have to stay on. I'm like, look, you can't spend 3 hours on a 1 hour diag. You need to call the customer, ask for information, and if you're still not finding it, either let them know it's not showing up or get approval on more time so we can keep moving on with this job.
Okay, now that's a real solid piece of advice there, Gerald. So instead of doing hourly, which you did before, you found out that by doing some sort of incentive pay. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for the other shop owners listening?
Yeah, so if I got an hourly technician, say they come in, they wanted 25 an hour or whatever, they're a good B or whatever, I would give that to them. I don't even offer hourly anymore, but I would give that to them. But they still have to really realistically make 30, 40 hours of production a week to make their pay really worth it, So switching them to flat rate, I can pay a guy that was paying 30 hourly. I can pay him 40 flat rate. And for one, he's cheaper for me. And now he's more motivated to get more done. He's going to make more money at the end of the week and make more money for the shop as well. So, just switching them, some guys are real hard to convince with it, or whatever. But like when we're hiring guys and they say, oh, I don't know if we get enough hours. If they know what they're doing, they're going to knock it out of the ballpark with hours, and just show them your billed hours for the last month. It's like, look, we did 600 hours. We got 3 guys. Do you want 50 hours a week or do you want 60?
Right.
How many hours do you want? And then, and I got one guy I got to tell every now and then, I'm like, listen, I appreciate you knocking out 70, 75 hours, but you need to go home and spend time with your wife and kids because she's going to be mad. So
that's my next one, because a lot of shop owners, I'm actually doing a quick video on shop burnout, how to recognize it, avoid it, and what the benefits are. I'm actually going to go in my studio downstairs in a little while and shoot that video. But can you share strategies, personal, for balancing this personal life, as an owner?
There's no such thing as a perfect work-life balance. You just schedule everything best you can. You'll only make time for things that you make time for. So
Right.
if you don't make time to go do these other things, you're not going to do it. You in your head, you'll use the excuse of all this other things, whatever you're doing needs to get done, and you may waste your time there where, like I said, I used to leave here 9, 10 o'clock at night. Well, I don't do that anymore. I'm divorced for like 3, 4 years now, and probably from work. There was other things too, but working all the time didn't help anything.
Sure.
Well, now I have my kids for a week, and then I don't have them for a week. So the week that I don't have them, I do my other oddball things, like another shop down the road. We work back and forth. We work together quite a bit or whatever. So certain things that he wants to lab scope or check out, we do that after hours. So that way all the techs are gone and the shop's not clogged up with work, so it's not really hindering any work getting done here, we'll do that then. Or different other things. But when I have my kids, that's time for my kids. I work my regular hours at work, but when it's done, I might stay another 15, 20 minutes, but I finish where I'm at, pause for the day, I go home and spend time with my kids.
Right.
You just have to, there is no actual balance. You just have to make time for things that you have to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my wife and I don't have any children, and we belong to a mastermind group of 250 other agency owners in niches of everything. So we meet 3 times a year in Miami and share information with each other, which is exceedingly beneficial for everybody. But many of them are building businesses and they have kids. Or I used to have a chemical supply company in another life in the Florida Panhandle. And I'd go to these restaurants, and this restaurant owner would be raising 3 kids, and I'm like, how do you do that? So it's
It's
like,
tough.
yeah, I'll bet. Because I can't imagine. My wife and
Having
I,
the right partner makes a big difference too, though.
yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, having an understanding spouse that, will work with you, say, okay, you've got to take time to do this with the kids, no excuses, so yeah, I understand that. Any important lessons that you can pass on as far as managing finances and or making wise business decisions with, buying equipment or upgrades or whatever?
As far as financial, have your profit and loss statement figured out. Know where your money's going. Pay attention to how much money's coming in, what you're spending on certain overhead, what certain items, like monthly services or whatever. If they're great and they help you out and they make money, spend the money on it. But if they're just to have and they kind of are helpful, but you don't really use it anymore, turn that stuff off. That kind of stuff will eat up more overhead money than you could ever imagine. For me, I'm real big on trying to buy bulk supplies. If we're money ahead, I mean, I got a 45-foot Connex container out here full of Freon, antifreeze, transmission fluid, different types of oils. I mean, if it comes in a barrel or a 275-gallon IBC, oh yeah, we got windshield washer fluid by the 275-gallon tote. I mean,
Wow.
anything we can stock in there that doesn't freeze, we put it in there, and then I have another one of them 40-foot Connex boxes we keep other stuff in. So that way we don't really ever run out of anything. Anytime I get a little money ahead, I just use that money to help build ahead in overhead. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're gonna buy it anyway, and the
Sure.
stuff doesn't really go bad. So if you have money ahead, instead of going buying, a new truck or something, spend some money on other things you're gonna buy, and you'll make your money on it later. Like I got super lucky on Freon. I mean, COVID came through and everything else went up, and I called one of my suppliers and they hadn't changed their pricing yet. So I asked them how much they had. I bought a whole pallet of 134A Freon for 120 a tank. That's
Wow.
300 a tank or something now.
Wow. So
I mean,
that was smart because you've already you've invested that money basically. And now as you need that product, you're not paying for it. You already paid it for it. That's going to up your profit margins.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll make
Right.
my money on the Freon just sitting in the Connex box.
Right.
But we've raised our other prices to match everybody else's, are comparable anyway for
Sure, right.
by the ounce and stuff like that. So that pallet of Freon may take me 5 years to make my money on, but I'll make enough money on just saving the money on the Freon itself to pay for the whole next pallet of Freon.
Right. Is there a way that you make sure that your prices are competitive?
Well, call shop around other shops. If you have a good relationship with other shops in the area, just ask them.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't, you can kind of do like bait cars, where you send it in on a Monday. It's like anybody, like one of your family or whoever, you send them to a shop and you get an oil change and see what they do on the car, if it needs certain items or whatever. Or if you're wanting to know air conditioning, ask them, can you check the air conditioning system or whatever? And they'll probably give you an estimate on something and Freon will be in there. And then another thing you can do is send somebody else the next week, and then now you know the car count, how many cars they're doing a week, and what they're actually suggesting on the car and things like that. You can figure out a lot of that stuff. I get along with the shop around my area pretty good, so I just ask them.
All right, well, that's a good way to do it. Ask.
Yeah, and we have a Napa BDG group that there's, I think, 9 or 10 of us shop owners in, and we cover probably a 30 to 40 mile radius of area. And those guys on certain things like pricing, stuff like that, yeah, they're pretty helpful on, just telling you exactly how they price it or how they bill for it, things like
Yeah,
that.
sure. Right. Yeah. Because all right. Yeah.
I'm a pretty upfront person, so I'll ask anybody just about anything. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer, but I'm gonna ask somebody else anyway.
Well, I mean, that's smart. A lot of people just they don't think to ask, you know? So I have a guy that's in my space in the mastermind group that I belong to, and he's actually just right down the road from me. I didn't know that until just recently. And I was going to call some of his customers and ask, some questions. I thought, you know what? I'll just call him. We belong to the same mastermind group. We're in the exact same niche. So there's only certain things that he would share, of course, with me, and me vice versa. But he was helpful. He gave me a lot of information that I'd be able to use that will help me with my company as I grow. He's a lot bigger than I am. He's been in the space longer, But yeah,
Right.
I picked up the phone. The guy called me. We chatted, So good thing to do. What trends or developments are you see shaping the future of the automotive repair industry?
You mean as far as like what types of cars or?
Just the trends altogether, like developments you see shaping the future of the industry. Obviously, EVs shaping the thing, and if hydrogen, if we can ever figure out how to move hydrogen without safely, which because it's very volatile, that's the best green stuff on. That is the greenest green it can be because you don't have to change over any internal combustion engines, just their fuel source. Where the EVs are a environmental disaster. People don't know that they put more carbon in the atmosphere just putting it on the car lot
Right.
than a regular SUV, 8-cylinder SUV over the life of the vehicle. So let
Well,
alone what are you going to do with the batteries? So
the hydrogen cars, they only have to change a couple things in a modern gas engine to really make them work. And it's just because it produces so much water as exhaust. But I honestly don't know the big trip on why they're not using hydrogen, except for the fact that you can't go to a pump and just natural flow it into a car.
right,
It's compressed gas.
yeah,
And I mean, hydrogen's way more explosive than gasoline,
oh yeah,
but it's way more efficient as well, too. So I'm not really sure what the big hang up on that is. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a safety thing that they're trying to figure out how to safely transfer it and how you change all these gas stations over to something like that. Hybrid cars, honestly, are going to, for cars anyway, I see them being, I mean, they're already here and they're already more efficient than electric cars. Until electric cars get way more efficient, I see hybrid cars actually coming back and taking them over. I mean,
really?
well, yeah, because I mean, especially like people out here, you can take hybrid across the country.
Oh, hybrid cars. Okay, so electric, they're
Yeah,
cross.
electric gas. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I mean, they're expensive to fix, but they ain't no more expensive than an electric car to fix, and realistically, not much more expensive than a regular gas car to fix. They just have more stuff.
right, yeah. And like you said, a hybrid, you got the best of both worlds, and you can go cross country with one without having to go plug it in every so many.
Yeah, and they already got 20 plus years of being proven that they work.
Yep, because they've already been out there in the marketplace. Yeah. So yeah, maybe it'll go that way. Or maybe we'll go back to maybe our RFD days with hydrogen and there'll actually be gas station attendants that fill up your car because for safety concerns, who knows?
Right, right. Well, and I have no idea how they're going to price that either. Like
Yeah.
how much is a
By the pound?
gallon of hydrogen? Because you're not going to get a gallon of it. You're going to buy about a pound or more.
Right.
However that's going to work. But I don't know how that'll be priced. If it's not priced cheap enough, you're never going to move enough people to it.
Right.
And the internal combustion gas engine, I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. There's
Yeah.
just too many of them, and they're too cheap to build compared to all these other technologies that make it more efficient. As long as you have all the other
Infrastructure.
criteria to make it work.
Hey, Gerald, how do you approach competition in your industry? Do you see it as a threat or an opportunity?
As far as just another shop, or
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. How do you approach the competition? Like you said, I think you've already hinted at, you've got a decent relationship. You could pick up the phone, call other local shop owners and say, hey, if you don't mind me, what do you charge for this? I'll tell you what I charge. What do you charge for it? Show me mine,
I really don't look at many of them as competition. Most of them that are really local to us use us on really hard diagnostic stuff anyway.
Okay.
So, and I don't know how they bill for that on their end. That's not my problem. But
Right. Yeah.
I don't really look at them as competition just for the fact that they kind of need us. So you blow your mind how many other shops bring stuff here. They can't figure out, or they don't want to waste their time on it because they either don't have the equipment or don't have the training to figure it out.
Okay.
So I mean, as far as competition wise, money wise, I don't really look at them as competition. If it's a shop that I know does a whole lot more in volume, I don't really look at them as competition. It's more as like, that's where I want to try to be at, or how did you get to that point?
Right.
But as far as like being competitive, we're better than them or they do more money, so we're not as good as them. That really don't bother me. I think people get sidetracked with that stuff. I just focus on what we're doing and make sure we're doing the best we can.
Right. Okay. Anything about ADAS? Are you guys doing anything with ADAS?
Some of the basic stuff, but I mean, as far as like it depends on calibrations. We're not doing like any kind of radar calibrations or the giant mats that go on the ground. Our shop physically does not have the size for like some of the Ford cars and trucks that require like 35 feet wide and 40-foot long and with the big giant mats that roll out. So we don't really do, I mean, we do some of the stuff, but we don't do all of the stuff. But I mean, ADAS is always is back as far as steering angle sensor. I mean, that's technically ADAS.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I see it being an expensive way to get started in a program that a body shop will probably take over for anyway. Body shops are going to be a lot higher into that just for the fact that when you crash, you're going to smash the radar in the front, probably going to break the front view camera, and then like your side detection stuff in the back for the other person that you hit. That kind of stuff is primarily going to be handled by body shops. We would probably we handle more like the few that we have seen is literally being diagnostics for trying to figure out why it keeps setting a code because they put a new module in it and it still sets a code. And it's because the chassis is bent and the thing's pointing the wrong way. And the car knows that it should see certain things in certain areas. So we still aren't calibrating it. We don't even have a guy that would come here to calibrate certain ADAS things that we wouldn't be able to. We haven't really had the need for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And most body shops in the St. Louis area that I've seen so far are pretty much subletting that out to a mobile guy that does like ADAS and programming for them.
Okay. Any recommended like tools or resources like you and I met at Vision? I think there's a lot of auto repair shop owners that may not know about Vision or they've heard about it. How long have you been going to Vision?
This is the 4th year in a row for taking me and the entire shop. So,
oh, you take your entire shop and
yes.
For tech training and
yeah, I let them pick their classes. If they don't know what classes to take, I'll help them because I know kind of where they're at diagnostic wise to where they're at. I mean, not every tech I have here is an A, but I have basically 2 A's and I have a real good B, and then I have like a C plus.
Okay. Anything else besides Vision Trade Show that you would recommend training? I recommend Tom Ham. I've been introduced to him just recently. It's Automotive Management Network. He runs a shop in Michigan and he lives in Florida. So this is a shop owner. He's not there. He runs a very successful shop from his home in Florida. 21 years ago, he started the Automotive Management Network. They've got massive amounts of resources in there, like standard operating procedures. So people can join like 200 a year or whatever. They can join, download these standard operating procedures, tweak them to however they want. Now, when they hire some, say, hey, this is our standard operating procedure for this, So that's a resource I'm going to like recommend to everybody because it's the price of a fast food lunch, a month to get that access to that information. Is there anything else besides a Vision that you could recommend to people? Books, workshops, training?
Training for technicians, like our local BDG group, we actually have an advanced alignment class today down at the Hunter Engineering Training Facility in Maryland Heights. So that's part of our training group that we picked through Napa and our BDG group anyway. And that's what we'll be doing. I think we do like 8 classes a year on that. Any of my technicians, if they find any kind of specialized training that's in the St. Louis area, or I don't even care if it's in the St. Louis area, if it's something that they really want to go to, I normally pay for it for them. So that way they can just go to it. Pretty much every tech has about $1,000 a year that they can pick a certain train they want to go to. And if they want to take a train that's really close, it's $300. They can spend the other 1,000 on the hotel or food or whatever they want. I don't care. As long as they're actually taking a train that they're involved in and they want to do. My lead tech and one of the other shops that I work with, Eric Walker was in town doing an L5P Duramax class. We don't really focus on diesel that much. We all took that class, and it's 15 minutes after we were there, I thought I should have brought my whole shop here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a good class. It was a real good class.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, any questions that I should have asked that you can think of that I haven't asked that would be helpful to other shop owners?
Not that I can think of.
Let me ask you this one. This seems to be a really big problem with all shop owners. How do you look for find techs? How do you find them?
I've been using Indeed primarily, which Indeed and Facebook. Indeed's been better. Everyone that walks in the door will tell you they can fix anything. I have like a little handwritten test that I'll give them. And then I basically give them a horn wiring diagram, like an older car horn wiring diagram with a relay, and I'll ask them some simple questions on there. And by literally the written test and where they can do electronic wise, I can tell pretty quick where they're at. But I've been fooled plenty of times before, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When people are trying to get a job, everybody's an actor.
Right. Well, I mean, you wouldn't hire me either if I come in and told you, I'm learning, I don't really know how to do anything. I wouldn't hire them either, you know.
Right.
So I mean, I understand, but when I'm on the floor working interviews, I think it's the best. Basically, to set them up with like, look, I'm going to pay you $20 an hour cash. I want you to come in, you know, take a vacation day from your other job or whatever. I want you to learn our process. I want you to kind of go through. I just want to see what you can do on a car. You know, even if they don't like use the shop management system or whatever, just write it down. I want to see what you can do. I want to see how you can handle it. All the rest is just how our process of doing it.
Okay.
You know, you get some techs that walk in that are just brilliant. I mean, they just blow right through it. And that same guy, for some reason, may not know how to patch a tire. It's amazing. Some of the weird stuff that you come across or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, I can say I do that. That's easy enough. You know the hard stuff, you know.
Right.
You know, like my C plus, he's good at all the general maintenance type stuff and things like that. He just hasn't done a whole lot of hard diag things or whatever. But you know, every now and then he'll find something that heck might have took me 20, 30 minutes to find, and he found it in 20, 30 minutes. It's just a different way of looking at it, and he figured it out, you know.
Yeah. You brought up a really good point with hiring. I researched hiring myself because that was a big challenge with my business, is hiring the right people. So, you know, a lot of people, they interview well, but you're not hiring them to see how good they interview. You're hiring them to do technical work, jobs. That's what I'm hiring. So we try to, in every position that we have within our company, after they make it to the initial interview, which there's certain questions that we ask for each position, you know, if they make it to that, then we do a second panel interview where we put them on the spot. Oh, have you ever worked with this software? Yes. Oh, great. Do you know how to do this? Oh, yeah, sure. I know how to do it. Okay, great. I'm going to log in. Show me how to do it. You know, so it's the same thing with you. And this is a smart business practice. You don't hire people who can interview well or have a resume. You hire them to do tasks. How well can they do the tasks? Test them. So that's what you do. You cut through the clutter quick by just testing them, right?
Well, another thing too is you can hire the guy that's the smartest, brightest person ever, and if they just are a pain in the ass to work with, they still work.
Yeah, they're not going to fit into your shop culture. And that was kind of like my last question. Do you do anything like to develop shop culture? I mean, a lot of shops are starting to do like cookouts on Friday. They'll go to Costco or Sam's and they'll get burgers and dogs, and they shut down at lunch. And a family that eats together stays together type mentality, which is very true. It works. So is there anything that you do that's kind of...
So in our location, I mean, the nearest anything is 10 miles away. So a lot of times I just ask them whatever they want, and I go buy lunch every Friday.
Oh, do you really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I buy lunch every Friday for them. And then if we have a training event like today, this one's a little farther. So if they want to, they can ride with me. I just bring them back here to the shop. A lot of times they don't want to because they just want to drive straight from their home.
Right.
But anything we can do to make their lives easier. I need to work on more family-oriented type stuff. We've been doing about once a year where we'll go to Top Golf, and I just have, you know, bring your wife, girlfriend, whatever, you know, pretty much no kids because kids make more complications, but
sure.
Just everyone come out and we're just going to go drive golf balls for 2 hours or whatever. All the food and drinks are on me, stuff like that. So
right. Yeah, that's okay.
We do that about once a year, and I try to do one. I'm going to try to start doing one more towards the spring, which I'm a little behind on that this year already. It's been a mess with other things going on, but we always do one in the fall. And then every time we get 100 Google reviews, I give the next 100 Google reviews. I give everyone in the shop a $100 bill. I mean, because even the GS, I can give them a $100 bill, which blows their mind because that's more than their whole check for a whole week. But
right,
they're all part of it, keeping the waiting room clean, keeping everything cleaned up so the techs can do work faster, you know, things like that. Everyone's part of the whole thing. So I try to help make sure everyone understands that I appreciate it.
Well, that's awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time, Gerald.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.